But as I understand it, is that the administration has indefinitely delayed the Two Gates project. As I understand it, there's a letter from the San Luis Delta Mendota Water Authority that accuses the administration, and Mr. Connor may be able to answer this, of a scientific double standard, and apparently indefinitely delaying this project, which was some way to help mitigate this smelt issue and get some additional pumping going on. Are you aware of this letter? Are you aware of that issue, and why the Two Gates project is not being able to be permitted?
Yes, sir. I'm well aware of that letter. I'm well aware of all the actions that have been taken with respect to Two Gates. Two Gates has been a priority from a permitting standpoint. Absolutely. We have spent hours and hours trying to move
Well,
forward.
reclaiming my time from the gentleman, if it's a priority, why hasn't it been done? Right now, we're running out of time. And this water bond, for instance, we're talking about this water bond. Even if it does pass, and there's a question whether it will pass, quite frankly, because of the cost and the political climate that we're in, none of these projects will be built for years. For years. And so we need to move on with some interim projects today in order to save the Central Valley. We just heard testimony from Mr. Snow saying that in another year, much of the production in the Central Valley will be permanently out. They're not going to replant those trees.
Would the gentleman yield for a moment?
Happy
I'll
to.
give you additional time. And the question then leads to, we know that there's farmers losing their land, their crop, going bankrupt, fallowing the farmland. Mr. Connor, have we worked with ag, with commerce, with all the agencies, SBA, to be able to help these individuals stay in the industry until the times get better, until,
They need
as
water.
he's pointing out, those projects come online to be able to do the water delivery? Are we doing that? Thanks, Tom.
Well, the problem right there, Madam Chairman, is the trees will be dead. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. The answer to your question, that the federal work plan identifies a range of actions, and I realize it's not popular to talk about the relief that we can provide financially, given the lack of water. But we do think it's appropriate, and we have worked closely with the Department of Agriculture. We declared 57 of 58 counties disaster last year. That made emergency loans available, that made other types of assistance available. I know that's not a substitute for water. I know people want water and they want to produce products, but that is one interim step, as well as figuring out the right projects that we can do in the short term that will have the yield of water. Fundamental problem with Two Gates, and I'll be succinct, is that not the Bureau of Reclamation, not the Fish and Wildlife Service, but the Cal-Fed Independent Science Panel found fundamental scientific flaws with the basis for the Two Gate projects, which needed further investigation. That was one issue. Second issue, cost escalated from somewhere in the $20 million range to $80 million when all is said and done. And that includes some O&M costs. So the resources weren't immediately available for the project. Third, there were over 1,400 comments in the environmental assessment projects expressing strong concerns about the Two Gates project that from the citizens of California, not from the federal agencies, that need to be evaluated and looked at as part of our environmental compliance activity. Fourth, we did a design, engineering, construction review of Two Gates, and it raised 9 significant issues about the technical foundation for the project. We have not shelved Two Gates. We are actively working on Two Gates. But those questions need to be answered to figure out if it's worth the investment of that kind of money and whether it will yield additional water. In the interim, we're going to do projects like the Intertie, which we know is a good project, which we know has the capacity to generate additional water. We're going to move forward with conservation projects. We're going to diversify water supply. Those we know will have some added benefit to the water supply for the Central Valley project.